Is it already 4 o'clock now?
Yes, it is. It is actually 4:15.
Then I must hungry. There is a football match in the stadium at 4:30 p.m.
Are you sure it is today?
Yes, I am sure.
Is it not too late now?
It is not yet too late. If we hurry, we can be there in time. Are you coming with us?
No, thank you. I am very busy. Who else is coming with you?
My friend Johnny also is coming with me.
By the way, which are the teams playing today?
Tatas and Railways are playing today.
Are they good teams?
I think they are good teams.
Was the game interesting?
The game was very interesting. Both the teams really played well.
Were you on the time in the stadium?
We were only 15 minutes late. We were really lucky.
Was there a big crowd for the match?
There was a very big crowd. Do you want any help in the garden?
We don't really need any help. If you want to join us, you are welcome.
I don't know where else to go.
Help Vimal to dig up that flower bed.
I don't want any help. Does Deepu need any help? Go and see.
Deepu does not need any help.
Did Piyush come here?
Piyush came here 10 minutes back. He said he had no work.
He did not finish sweeping the classroom. Where did he go from here?
He went to the refectory.
Are you going to the farm today?
Yes, we are going to the farm today. We are starting now itself.
Who else is coming with you?
My wife and our youngest son are coming with me. Usually we go together.
Are you taking the bullocks with you?
No, the plow is out of order.
What is wrong with it?
There is nothing very serious. It needs some minor repairs.
In that case, can you please lend them to me for today?
By all means.
Where is your daughter studying?
She is studying in Nirmala High School, Alua.
Where does she stay?
She stays with her auntie.
Do they have a field?
They sold their field and started business.
Who is managing the business?
My uncle himself is managing it. He is very shrewd man.
What is his gain per day?
He makes at least rupees 2,500 a day. We all admire him.
Whose pens are these?
The blue pen is mine. The black one is his.
Is that book also yours?
No, it is not mine. It is Arun's.
Whose are all these books?
They are ours. Piyush kept them here.
Please remove them from here.
Okay.
Is this Sona's umbrella?
It is not hers. It is her sister's.
What, where, how and when? Rashida's question. Rashida sat reading the newspaper. Suddenly her eyes fell on a small headline. 100 years ago, how she wondered. Could anyone know what had happened so many years ago? Finding out what happened yesterday. You could listen to the radio, watch television, read a newspaper. Last year, ask somebody who remembers. But what about long ago? Let us see how it can be done. What can we know about the past? There are several things we can find out. What people ate, the kinds of clothes they wore, the houses in which they lived. We can find out about the lives of hunters, herders, farmers, rulers, merchants, priests, crafts, persons, artists, musicians, and scientists. We can also find out about the games children played, the stories they heard, the plays they saw, the songs they sang. Where did people live? People have lived along the banks of this river for several 100,000 years. Some of the earliest people who lived here were skilled gatherers, that is, people who gathered their food. They knew about the vast wealth of plants in the surrounding forests and collected roots, fruits, and other forest produce for their food. They also hunted animals. Now find the Suleiman and Kirtar hills to the northwest. Some of the areas where women and men first began to grow crops such as wheat and barley about 8,000 years ago are located here. People also began rearing animals like sheep, goat, and cattle and lived in villages. Locate the Gargo Hills to the northeast and the Vindhyas in central India. These were some of the other areas where these movements of people enriched our cultural traditions. People have shared new ways of carving stone, composing music and even cooking food over several hundreds of years. Name of the land. Two of the words we often use for our country are India and Bharat. The word India comes from the Indus, called Sindhu in Sanskrit. Find Iran and Greece in your atlas. The Iranians and Greeks who came through the northwest about 250 years ago and were familiar with the Hindus, called it the Hindus or Indos. And the land to the east of the river was called India. The name Bharata was used for a group of people who lived in the northwest and who are mentioned in the Rig Veda. The earliest composition in Sanskrit. Later, it was used for the country. Finding out about the past. There are several ways of finding out about the past. One is to search for and read books that were written long ago. These are called manuscripts because they were written by hand. These were usually written on palm leaf or on the specially prepared bark of a tree known as the birch, which grows in the Himalayas. Over the years, many manuscripts were eaten away by insects. Some were destroyed, but many agriculture developed. The places where rice was first grown are to the north of the Vindhyas. Trace the river Indus and its tributaries. About 4,700 years ago, some of the earliest cities flourished on the banks of these rivers. Later, about 250 years ago, cities developed on the banks of the Ganga and its tributaries. Along the sea coasts, locate the Ganga and its tributary called the Sun. In ancient times, the area along these rivers to the south of the Ganga was known as Magadha, now lying in the state of Bihar. Its rulers were very powerful and set up a large kingdom. Kingdoms were set up in other parts of the country as well. Throughout, people traveled from one part of the subcontinent to another. The hills and high mountains, including the Himalayas, deserts, rivers, and seas, made journeys dangerous at times, but never impossible. So, men and women moved in search of live good, as also to escape from natural disasters like floods and droughts. Sometimes men marched in armies, conquering others' lands. Besides, merchants traveled with caravans or ships, carrying valuable goods from place to place, and religious teachers walked from village to village, town to town, stopping to offer instruction and advice on the way. Finally, some people paragraphs traveled driven by a spirit of adventure, wanting to discover new and exciting places. All these led to the sharing of ideas between people. Why do people travel nowadays. Look at map I once more. Hills, mountains and seas from the natural frontiers of the subcontinent. While it was difficult to cross these frontiers, those who wanted could and did scale the mountains and cross the seas. People from across the frontiers also came into the subcontinent and settled here.
What was special about these cities? Many of these cities were divided into two or more parts. Usually, the part to the west was smaller but higher. Archaeologists describe this as the citadel. Generally, the part to the east was larger but lower. This is called the lower town. Very often, walls of baked bricks were built around each part. The bricks were so well baked that they have lasted for thousands of years. The bricks were laid in an interlocking pattern and that made the walls strong. In some cities, special buildings were constructed on the citadel. For example, in Mohenjo-daro, a very special tank, which archaeologists call the Great Bath, was built in this area. This was lined with bricks coated with plaster and made watertight with a layer of natural tar. There were steps leading down to it from two sides, while there were rooms on all sides. Water was probably brought in from a well and drained out after use. Perhaps important people took a dip in this tank on special occasions. Other cities such as Kalibagan and Lothal had fire altars where sacrifice may have been performed, and some cities like Mohenjo-daro, Harappa and Lothal had elaborate storehouses. Houses, drains, streets. Generally, houses were either one or two stories high with rooms built around a courtyard. Most houses had a separate bathing area and some had wells to supply water. Many of these cities had covered drains. Notice how carefully these were laid out in straight lines, although you cannot see it. Each drain had gentle slope so that water could flow through it. Very often, drains in houses were connected to those on the streets and smaller drains led into bigger ones. As the drains were covered, inspection holes were provided at intervals to clean them. All three houses, drains and streets were probably planned and built at the same time. Life in the city. A Harappan city was a very busy place. There were people who planned the construction of special buildings in the city. These were probably the rulers. It is likely that the rulers sent people to distant lands to get metal, precious stones and other things that they wanted. They may have kept the most valuable objects such as ornaments of gold and silver or beautiful beads for themselves, and there were scribes, people who knew how to write, who helped prepare the seals and perhaps wrote on other materials that have not survived. Besides, there were men and women craftspersons making all kinds of things either in their own homes or in a special workshop. People were traveling to distant lands or returning with raw materials and perhaps stories. Many terracotta toys have been found and children must have played with these. Make a list of the people who lived in the city. Were any of these people listed as living in the villages such as Mehrag? New crafts in the city. Let us look at some of the objects that were made and found in Harappan cities. Most of the things that have been found by archaeologists are made of stone, shell and metal, including copper, bronze, gold and silver. Copper and bronze were used to make tools, weapons, ornaments and vessels. Gold and silver were used to make ornaments and vessels. Perhaps the most striking finds are those beads, weights and blades. The Harappans also made seals out of stone. These are generally rectangular and usually have an animal carved on them. The Harappans also made pots with beautiful black designs such as the one here. Was metal used in the villages you learned about in before videos? Was stone used to make weights? Cotton was probably grown at Mehrag from about 7,000 years ago. Actual pieces of cloth were found attached to the lid of silver vase and some copper objects at Mohenjo-daro. Archaeologists have also found spindle wheels.
The earliest people, why were they on the move? We know about people who lived in the subcontinent as early as 2 million years ago. They hunted wild animals, caught fish, birds, gathered fruits, roots, nuts, seeds, leaves, stalks, and eggs. First, if they had stayed on the place for a long time, they would have eaten up all unavailable plants and animal resources. Therefore, they would have had to elsewhere in search of food, either in search of small prey or in the case of deer and wild cattle. That is why those who hunted them had followed their movement. Third, the plants and trees bear fruits in different seasons, so people may have moved from season to season in search of different kinds of plants. Fourth, people, plants, animals need water to survive. While many rivers and lakes are perennial, others are seasonal. Had to go search water during the dry seasons. Archaeologists have found some of the things hunted, gathered, made and used. People made and used tools of stone, wood and bone. Some of these stone tools were used to cut meat and bone. To make separate and arrow for hunting, the other tools were used to crop wood, which was used to firewood. Wood also used to make hunt tools. The story of Harappa. Very often, old buildings have story to tell. When railway lines were being laid down the first time in the Punjab, India's engineers stumbled upon the site of Harappa in present-day Pakistan. So they carried off thousands of bricks from the walls of the old buildings of the city to build railway lines. Many buildings were completely destroyed. As this was the first city discovered all over the sites from whether similar buildings were found were described by Harappan. These cities developed about 4,700 years ago. Components of food. We made list of food items that we eat. We also identify food items eaten in different parts of India. Another may be rice, sambar and vegetable preparations of India. Our meals usually have at least one item made from kind of grain. Other items could be dal or dish of meal and vegetable. Some examples of meals of different regions are served from food. It's deposit on the map in add some more meals listed and enter this. Sometimes we do not really have all this variety of meals. It may not be possible for some of us to eat such a variety of items most of time. Why meals usually consist of such a distribution? Do you think about your body needs different food and special items which we get from plants or animals? These ingredients contain some components that are need our body. These components are called nutrients. In addition, food contains dietary fibers and water which are made need by our body. With some simple method, we can test whether cooked food or a raw ingredient contains one or more of them nutrition. For carrying out these tests, you will need solutions of iodine, copper, sulfate, and caustic soda. Some food items are given in the table. You can conduct the tests either these or by other available items. If required solutions are not available in ready-made form, your teacher can prepare them and give in a box. There are many types of carbohydrates. The main carbohydrates found in our food are the form of starch and sugars. We can easily test if a food item contains starch. Take a small quantity of food item or raw ingredient. Observe if there is any changes color of food items. A blue-black color indicate that contains starch. Test of protein. Take a small quantity of food for testing. If the food wants to test solid, you first need to make paste or powder it, grind and mash small quantity of the food item. Put some of this clean test tube. Now using dropper and 2 drop solutions of copper sulfate and 10 drops of solution caustic soda to the test. Shake well the test tube few minutes. A violet color indicates presence of protein in the food item.